All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the rulebook for the world's biggest democracy, the Indian Constitution. I mean, how is this incredible document actually put together? And more importantly, why does this design matter so much in the real world? Let's figure it out.
So first things first, we have to connect the dots between all this political theory and, well, actual survival. It turns out, the way a government is structured isn't just some boring topic for a textbook. It can literally have life or death consequences for millions of people. And this isn't just some hypothetical question. It leads us to something incredibly powerful and frankly pretty sobering. Can the design of a government actually stop mass starvation from happening?
Okay, now look at this, because this is where it gets real. Between 1958 and 1961, both India and China were hit with terrible food shortages, but the outcomes, they couldn't have been more different. In India, you had democratic pressures, an opposition party, a free press that forced the government to act. And the result is astounding. No major famine has ever happened in independent, democratic India. But in China, without those checks and balances, without anyone to hold the government accountable, there was widespread death. It's just a stark, powerful example of how a democratic design can literally save lives.
So knowing the stakes are that high, literally life and death, let's take a closer look at the blueprint for India's democracy, the Constitution itself.
At its most basic level, a constitution is like the nation's operating system, right? It's the set of written rules everyone agrees to follow, and it lays the foundation for absolutely everything, how the country is run and what it stands for.
So who actually wrote this rulebook? Well, those were the members of the Constituent Assembly. And that detail is so important because this document wasn't handed down by colonial rulers. Nope, it was drafted by Indians for Indians so they could shape their own future.
And the amount of work they put in was just incredible. The members met for 114 days, spread out over nearly 3 years, debating every single clause, every single word. The records of those debates fill up 12 huge volumes.
Now, let's get to the very heart and soul of the Constitution, the preamble. It kicks off with some of the most powerful words you'll ever read. We the people of India. And that phrase, it changes everything. It makes it crystal clear that the ultimate power doesn't come from a king or a foreign government, but from the citizens themselves. And from there, it spells out the core values that guide the entire nation. First up, sovereign. What does that mean? Simple. India is its own boss. The people have the ultimate right to make decisions about what happens inside and outside their borders, totally free from anyone else's control.
Next, secular. In a country as amazingly diverse as India, this principle is absolutely essential. It means every citizen has the complete freedom to follow any religion they want. There's no official state religion, and the government has to treat every single faith with equal respect.
And of course, democratic. This is the big one that ties it all together. It establishes that India is a place where people have equal political rights, where they get to choose their leaders, and where those leaders are held accountable to the people they serve.
Okay, so we've got the guiding principles down. But how do you actually put those values into action? Well, that's where the machinery of government comes in, and it's built on 3 main pillars of power. These 3 institutions are what hold up the entire democratic system. You've got the legislature, they're the ones who make the laws. Then you have the executive, who puts those laws into practice. And finally, the judiciary, which is like the umpire. They interpret the laws and make sure everyone plays by the rules of the Constitution. Each one has a clear, separate job to keep the power balanced. Let's zoom in a little closer on those first 2 pillars, the legislature and the executive. These are the folks responsible for actually making and then enforcing the laws of the land. So, the legislature in India is the parliament. It's made up of the president and 2 different houses. You have the Lok Sabha, or the House of the People, whose members are directly elected by citizens, and then the Rajya Sabha, the Council of States, which represents India's different states. This is the main arena where all the national laws get debated and passed.
Now, here's a really interesting part to understand. The executive branch is actually split into 2. You've got the political executive. These are the elected leaders like the prime minister and the cabinet, the ones making the big policy calls. But then you have the permanent executive, also known as civil servants. They're appointed for the long haul and handle the day-to-day running of the country, which means things keep moving smoothly even when governments change.
Okay, so we've talked about assemblies, pillars, executives, a lot of official-sounding stuff. But let's bring this all back down to earth. What does this whole complicated system actually mean for you, for the average citizen? How does it connect to daily life?
Well, here's how it connects. The Constitution guarantees a set of what are called fundamental rights. You can think of these as your personal user manual for being a citizen, a powerful set of protections you have against the state, and even against other people.
Take the right to freedom, for example. This isn't just some vague idea. It means real, tangible things, like the freedom of speech and expression, the right to gather together peacefully, to form groups, and to travel anywhere you want within the country. These are rights you can actually use every single day.
And this right here perfectly captures the power of that first point. Freedom of speech and expression, that's the foundation of accountability. It's your power to question, to criticize, and to make sure your voice is heard. Which, if you think about it, brings us right back to our very first example of why this whole democratic design is so incredibly important.
So, the blueprint is there. It's a detailed, thoughtful plan for a democracy, built with a ton of effort and vision. But at the end of the day, a blueprint is just a plan. And that leaves us with the ultimate question, one for the institutions and for every single citizen. The blueprint exists. Who ensures it's followed?